All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. You are the 100 people out of 100,000 people in Bend that are going to change this place. So I sincerely thank you. My name is James Teeter. I work with Ashley Advanced Engineering. I am a structural engineer and an advocate for livability in Bend. I love biking, but biking's not my shtick. I recognize that biking helps create walkable spaces, better driving spaces, better places to exist rather than just to pass through. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm stoked for Sjors' presentation. This event is being hosted by Bend Bikes, and yes, thank you. I tried to look up Bend Bikes' mission, and it was about 3 pages long. So I'm not going to read that, but if I could summarize in my words, they basically want your child to be able to bike to school and your grandma to bike to bridge or scooter to bridge club or bike, and give you all the free time to hang out with your friends. If I could summarize it. This event culminated a few months ago. It was a lunch with Robin Lewis, and a lot of stars aligned to make this happen. But basically what's been going on the last 2 days is we invited our Dutch friends here to gather with community members, community leaders at the city, a lot of city transportation engineers, planners, politicians, and advocates to learn at the same time Monday morning. And then we had about 24-ish people break out into 2 groups, and we did 2 workshops, a good mix of advocates, engineers, and planners. And we looked at the core area, and we looked at the 6th Street Greenway going up to Butler, and really just used those areas as a template to learn. But the fun thing is that they are projects upcoming for the city, so I just wanted to kind of share the background of what we've been doing the last 2 days, and this is the final party, if you will, the public lecture where Sjors is gonna blow your minds. So I have to look at my notes so to make sure I don't forget anyone, but we have an amazing list of sponsors that made this happen. Bend Bikes foremost, Central Oregon Land Watch, the LPS Family Fund, the City of Bend, the Bend Metropolitan Planning Organization, Building a Better Band, and Hand in Hand Productions is recording this. So if you have any friends that couldn't make it, definitely look for the video and share it. Bend Electric Bikes was able to donate a couple bikes for us to use this week, and Ashley Advanced Engineering for all of their support. Let's see, I mentioned, yeah, thank you. I mentioned Robin Lewis, but I do want to give another special thanks to her. I'm getting kind of emotional. But she's a city transportation engineer, and she's really a blessing for us, and she couldn't be here tonight. And so I just wish that you guys will all express your gratitude and give her a round of applause, because I know she'll watch this. Thank you. So without further ado, I will introduce Sjors van Duren. Sjors is a urban planner that's been working with transportation engineers for the better part of 15 years. He works with Royal Haskins DHV and has done a lot of work in pedestrian bike safety and getting cars to move as well. So we have a lot to learn from him. I'm very excited for you to hear what he has to say, and give a round of applause to Sjors.
But I'm Sjors van Duren, I'm an urban planner. As you can hear, I'm Dutch. And I come from the beautiful country of the Netherlands. We work, and I want to introduce someone else, which is Joost Toxapees. For these 2 days, Joost is my better half. I'm an urban planner, he's the engineer. Urban planners and engineers make things work together, and together with him, it was my great pleasure to host, to facilitate this workshop. We work at Royal Haskoning DHV, a big engineering and consultancy company based in the Netherlands. And let's talk about cycling. Let's talk about Dutch cycling. Kids on bikes. People talking. People laughing. People enjoying themselves. The sun always shines. It's beautiful. It's propaganda. We are the Netherlands. We are a car-addicted country. We build motorways, 6 lanes, traffic controlled. We are, just as the US, a car-dominated society. We have to deal with people driving cars. But still, we try to aim to build equitable, livable, and attractive cities for everybody. And when we plan, we try to plan for people, for human beings. And sometimes you have to deal with the fact that they drive cars, even in the Netherlands. And we speak a different language, Dutch. And that makes it easy to do a Google image search. So what I did, I put in the word fietsers, which means cyclists in the Netherlands, in Dutch. And this is what I get if I do a Google image search of fietsers. Happy people, upright bikes, enjoying themselves. Look. So when I talk about fietsen in the Netherlands, this is what people have in their minds. Now I'm going to Germany. Radfahren. I'm getting different images. A more sporty person. A road cyclist. And seniors on e-bikes on holidays. So when I go to Germany, where I also work, when I talk about Radfahren, cycling in German, I have to take into account that my audience has a different image of what I'm trying to convey. Because as a planner, I'm pushing for everyday cycling, for everybody, for the Dutch fietsen. Yeah, guess which language this is? English. Cycling. So this is interesting. When I talk to the general audience in an English-speaking country on cycling, to the general public, they've got these images, a road cyclist. And that's a challenge for me as an urban planner. Because what I want to get across is more people who are fietsers, using the bike to go from A to B, using the bike as a tool to move around in the city, using the bike to be able, as a 12-year-old, move on your own to school or to friends. That's fietsen and not cycling. This is a challenge for planners, and this is a challenge for politicians. So whenever you go and talk about cycling to people who drive a big pickup truck or SUV, if I've never ridden a bicycle before, keep in mind that when you talk about cycling, you might imagine this, where the thing what you want to push is fietsen. One thing. Second thing. I come from the region of Arnhem-Nijmegen. It's in the east of the Netherlands. And you see that urbanization happened. In the south is Nijmegen, that red blob, a Catholic city. North, across the rivers, is Arnhem, a Protestant city. I used to work as a civil servant for the region until 2017. And the joke was always that in Nijmegen, the Catholic city, a funeral in Nijmegen is more festive than a wedding in Arnhem. There was always competition between the cities. But we had to work together, because what you see is regions grow together, communities grow together, and you want to create connections between those communities to create strong communities. So we developed a cycling network for the region. And the interesting thing is, we talked through this with politicians, and they said to me, "What do you want to do?" "I want to develop this cycling network." And I said, "Okay, that's interesting, but that's spaghetti. There's no priority. It's such a lot of things to wish for." And one of the things we pushed for in 2008 in the Netherlands, in this region, I said, "Okay, we're going to focus. We're going to make a few cycling connections really good." So we said we're going to develop cycling highways. We're going to create connections between cities, which are such a good quality that you really would like to ride there, that you really would like to fiets there, and that they are suitable for everybody, from an 8-year-old to an 80-year-old, from 8 to 80, all ages and abilities. So we said we're going to develop cycling highways. And what does a cycling highway look like? Once again, language. This is in Germany, a Radschnellweg, a cycling highway. This is an image of a cycling highway in London. So if you talk about cycling, and I start talking about cycling highway, this is the image we get. So we were pushing for fietsen. This is the cycling highway we built. This is relaxed, carefree riding through nice environments. We're looking, even in urban areas, to find spots where it's nice to ride, where you can fiets and can fietsen. It's possible to do road cycling there, and fast and quick, that's fine. But those are the people, usually the road cyclists, they are the strong and fearless. Those people will ride everywhere. They will ride through Franklin, use the underpass, and go quick. But I want to get people fietsen, cycling. I want to get people as fietsers. And then you also have to take into account public space, because I just mentioned the underpass in Franklin. Well, this is an underpass in the Netherlands. It doesn't look nice. If you go in Franklin and you take the small tunnel, I think it was called the P tunnel. It's not attractive for everybody. You're not going there for fun. So when we developed these cycling highways, we also had money for the public space. We also looked at the surroundings. We gave the viaduct a bit of paint, new asphalt, and suddenly, hey, these people are my target groups. Mothers with children, school kids, and even some illegal use. Which is not a problem, because it's utility and recreation on the same route. And I talked about all ages and abilities, but a good cycling network will get you rolling if you're in a wheelchair as well. In the Netherlands, if you're in a wheelchair, you get electrified wheelchairs. They use the cycling network to go from their home towards the city or wherever they go. So building good segregated infrastructure is not only for the people who are able to ride a bike, but it's really for everybody. That's inclusion. So we are a cycling paradise, a fietsparadise. And infrastructure does the job. This is a map of cycling infrastructure, and you just can see where the Netherlands is and a bit of Flanders. But it correlates with cycling usage. So you need infrastructure, you need safety. But how did this happen? Why is the Netherlands so special in this? Well, the Netherlands are special, the Dutch are direct and not very modest, so I'm sorry for that, but this was Amsterdam in the 80s. Almost looks like an American city, although the cars are a bit smaller. But what happened? In the 70s, there were two crises in the Netherlands. One, a road safety crisis. People, and especially kids, were getting killed on the road. Over 1,000 kids were killed on the road in a year, on a population of 12 million. 450 then, but 3,000 people. And we had an oil crisis. And that caused, at a national level, at a regional level, local levels, we need to change. Car-free Sundays, but then we said, hey, we need to promote cycling. We need to push. Public protest, civil society came up. This year in traffic, 150 people killed per month. Thank you, happy drivers. Irony. Protests and a die-in. Pushing for that change that happened in the 70s. But of course, we didn't do everything perfect immediately. We're still human as the Dutch. So we learn from our mistakes. And really interesting is the bottom picture on the left. It was with business owners, and the street was traffic calmed and made more interesting for cycling. And the business owners didn't like it. The politicians didn't talk to them, and what happened is that construction work during the day started, a brick road was laid, and at night, the business owners hired contractors to remove the bricks. Big fights. But we learned from those lessons, and we applied that at the Delft cycling plan. And here we go again. Think at the network level. Think, where do people live? Where do they want to go to? Where would people would like to ride? And this network was designed in the late 70s, and it took a decade or longer to build it. So it's not something for the short haul, working on cycling. It may take a decade or two to become a cycling-friendly city. But if you've got a vision, if you've got a plan, it's possible. But never ignore the weakest link. You can have a beautiful cycling path, which is really nice, goes alongside a river. But if you then hit a major intersection with 6 lanes without anything, nobody will use it. So look at your intersections, and sometimes you have to take drastic decisions, build bridges, underpasses, or close down streets to make it safe for everybody. And you have to think about the car. Every mobility plan needs a car plan. When you talk about cycling, you need to talk about the car. Like I said, the Netherlands is a car-dominated society. And if I want to make cycling safe, I need to think, what am I going to do with the cars? And in the Netherlands, it's politically not possible to say, I want to create a safer cycling network, let's close down the roads and people will, I don't care about people with cars. If you would do that as a politician, that's committing suicide, and you won't get elected. So you have to create a car network and a car plan in order to move the cars in the places you want them, to free up space at places you want for people, pedestrians, and cyclists. How to do it, we'll get to that later. What we then do when we talk about the car plan is categorizing roads. We say some roads, on the left, the highway, the urban highway, just like the parkway here in Bend, those are the main roads for car traffic. We let the cars move, we let the cars flow, they are the fast roads. They're not suited for cycling, we do not provide cycling facilities there. That's the main network for cars. That's a few percent of the roads. In the middle, we have the arterial roads. The speed limits are in kilometers an hour, just to be sure it's not miles an hour. So within the city, we go 50 miles an hour, let's say there's 30 miles an hour max speed, or on arterial roads. Those roads are designed to let car traffic flow, to be efficient, to handle as much traffic as possible. But the goal is to remove traffic from the right column, the neighborhood streets. And how this works in practice, I will show it from my hometown, the city of Nijmegen. I live in a city with 180,000 people, beautiful city, I think. Joost lives in Groningen, another beautiful city, he thinks. That's always a discussion. But we've got a road, main road, built by Napoleon, leading into the city, straight. And when we talk about cars and the car network, we want to make sure that cars are able to go around the city on a car network. So at each of these crossings, at each of these points where the red lines and the green lines intersect, every movement for cars is possible. Those are the main intersections. But saying this implies as well that every other intersection is a minor intersection, or not so important. And then you can make decisions. This is the main intersection. We need the traffic. Traffic is queuing, traffic lights, so you need 4 lanes in one direction to handle all the traffic. But if you get past the traffic light, you can go from 2 lanes to 1 lane. Because what we do in a road design, we remove every distraction for the car driver. So there's no left-turning traffic, there are no parked cars in the travel lanes. There is actually no distraction whatsoever for the car driver, so he can just move. And if there is a minor intersection, we, for example, do a right in, right out only, so the cars are not queuing up. And that way we can move a lot of cars on those 2 lanes. I'm talking a lot about cars now. But when we hit an intersection, we get 3 lanes again because traffic has to queue. And so on a network level, you see that all these black connections are minor intersections. But what we then get, because those are minor intersections, we get low traffic neighborhoods. We fill them in, and these complete neighborhoods, they are all zones where the maximum speed is 20 miles an hour. We try to get red running out. We try to get high-speed traffic out because we facilitate traffic on these beautiful main roads. And this is an example. In the top left, you see a new line that used to be an arterial road, but we re-evaluated the network, and that road has been removed. As you can see, it used to be a main intersection. A lot of space, almost looks like a US intersection, 4 lanes, there's a lot of things going on. But because the road wasn't important anymore, we do not need to handle all the cars. A bit of queuing is okay. We can narrow it down. We do not have got all the funding, so from 2009 to 2010 we did this step. And in 2014 we did the road afterwards. Same here, 2009, we're looking in the other direction. Wide road, high speeds, because if the road is wide, people will speed up. We didn't have the funding, so in 2010 it was still the same, but we changed the intersection. We changed the entrance to the 20 mile an hour zone. And in 2014-15 we were able to do a road diet, which fits the 20 mile an hour street. And what you see here in the change, a lot of asphalt, non-permeable surfaces, heat stress. What we here get is more greenery, more permeable surfaces, better for stormwater drainage, and the street just looks nicer. And with the street being more narrow, the speed of the cars goes down. Same goes for the main road. We try to facilitate everything at this intersection. Left turns, right turns, everything. And you see that you need a lot of space, and the whole intersection is signalized. So you have to stop, you have to queue, and this impedes traffic. In 2010, we were able to tune down the right street, but there's still a left turn lane. And by having this vision and saying, hey, these are minor roads and we do not need to facilitate anything, we were able to remove the left turn lane as well. And what we get here is a road, which is a main road, carries a lot of traffic, but it's really easy to cross, and it's no longer dissecting the neighborhoods. You can go as a cyclist, as a pedestrian, you wait until a gap in traffic comes, and then you only have to cross 10 feet, and you're once again on an island, safe, and you do another 10 feet crossing. And this is really easy and nice to cross. It's way better than a 4-lane road, which you get here in Bend. And here comes the clue, and you will see that on the designs and the presentations later. The 4-lane roads, the arterials in Bend, they are designed to handle everything. Right turns, left turns, you have got traffic which slows down, moves up. Imagine that you've got 2 lanes in the middle, free-flowing. They can handle the same amount of traffic as those 5 lanes. And with that, so without thinking about the car, we're able to find space to provide segregated facilities, which you see here, segregated bicycle lanes, safe facilities, safe crossings. And one thing, a bit of a joke, always make after pictures in summer. Looks nicer. But this road carries a huge amount of traffic. It's good for the car driver, and it is good for the cyclist. And that's how politicians can sell the idea to the general population. Because in Bend, not everybody cycles yet, most people drive a car. So you have to think about the car driver, but by selling it like this, you can create a service road, you can create a concept where people like to ride, like to walk, and it's easier to cross. But let's get back to cycling, because you also want to cycle in nice areas. And when you think on a network level, You can ride alongside arterials, but it's always noisy, there's always pollution, and you're always in the neighborhood of the vicinity of a lot of cars. So you can choose, are you going to ride alongside, and are we going to develop a cycling route alongside the 6-lane highway, or are we going to ride here? What's better? This is a shared street. In the far end you see model filters. So it's a straight-on cycle path for cyclists. They can go on for 10 miles, but cars can go only on for a few hundred feet and then have to turn off. And that also remain, and if you go off the car network, this used to be a 50-kilometer-an-hour road, an arterial, but we wanted to promote cycling, so we removed it from the car network and turned it into a cycling street. Same here. Used to be a main road, created a cycling street. This road as well. It invites this road to speeding, and they did a quick build and a quick fit with the speed bump in the middle, which, if you don't have got a lot of money, is perfectly fine. But in the long run, you want to reimagine and redo your streets. So this could be something for 6th Street as an north-south arterial for cycling. Reimagine it as a neighborhood street. But do you think that the people living here on this street were happy that we were going to build a cycling street? No, they hated it. A cycling street for a cycling highway, a highway, that's a high-speed cycling. They didn't like the idea of a cycling highway in front of the door, because it feels like having a freeway in front of your door. And one of the things we then once again did, instead of talking about a cycling highway, we said, hey, it's a keep on going route. The goal is not that it's a highway to go as fast as possible, but we're talking about fietsers, 8 to 80. We want to make sure that a 12-year-old girl can ride there. And what's attractive about a good route? That you don't have to stop, that you can keep on going. That's one thing they liked, but they weren't convinced yet. What got them convinced was, we're going to give you parking bays, a parking lane, so you can store your car. And then he said, that's okay, we like it. Now, if a house is sold on this road, the advertisement from the mortgage broker says, beautifully and quietly located on the cycling highway. People like it now, because you see there's much greenery, it's just a nicer road, speeds go down, red running is down, people like it. And you can use these kind of treatments also to do wayfinding. Where do you want to go? Which direction do I have to go if I'm going to ride a bike here? If you redo the street, you can also give priority with small measures. Cycling goes around the corner, everybody knows where to go. Because a mental map, the map of the city, of most people in Bend, is a map from behind a windshield. And if I'm going to develop a network for cycling, they do not know where to cycle. They do not know where the beautiful trails or the attractive routes are. So you have to think about the mental map of the car driver and help the car driver who doesn't know the cycling routes yet to find his way when you develop the network. So we are reimagining streets, changing them, narrowing them down. It's really interesting to see Dutch car drivers parking here on the sidewalk, loads of space, but he wants to put the car on the sidewalk, it's safe. So we narrow down the street, give them parking spaces, suddenly the car is in the right position. And here you can see how extreme of a road diet we've been doing. We just literally cut off the asphalt, make the road narrower. Speeds go down. We put in some modal filters so we don't have so much car traffic anymore. We move the traffic from the neighborhood streets to the arterial streets. And it makes sense because we made those arterial streets attractive for cars, so people will stay on there as long as possible. So that's how we're segregating the cycling network from the car network. Once again, you see the car parking. This is really annoying. I'm a father of a 2-year-old, and in my neighborhood, you go out with a stroller, and then you see these cars parked, and you have to go on the road to go around a parked car. It's ridiculous. But with these new designs and providing a parking lane, it's better and you can better walk, you can better cycle. We still cater for the car users. And if this parking lane is not fully used, you can create permeable surfaces and make sure that stormwater drainage, heat stress also is being reduced. And for the engineers, there's also a very small thing, which is interesting to see. What we try to do with a design like this is narrow down the road optically. So on the left side, you see this small curb, the 5, 6 stones, and then a curb going up. Those 6 stones optically narrow down the road. So car drivers tend to move to the middle because they do not want to drive over those stones. When they meet each other, they have to swerve a little bit out to be able to pass each other. But that makes that they go slowly because you have to make a maneuver to pass. If you widen the road, car drivers don't have to move, so they speed up. But the effective width, the usable width of the road is exactly the same. So a small trick psychologically in the design. And the second advantage of this treatment is that cyclists will also stay a little bit further out of the side of the road, out of the dooring zone. So an experienced cyclists know to watch out for car doors, but inexperienced cyclists don't. And now I've got a question for you, for the audience. Take a good look at this movie. What do you see and what's special about this? What's special? What's going wrong here? Just say it. What's going on here from a policy point of view?
So the bikes took over the whole road,
Yeah?
The cross traffic got blocked.
the pedestrians fighting the bikes.
I will play it again. Count how many cyclists you see. And count how long they have to wait for 3 or 4 cars. So even in a cycling city, the traffic light guys allow a queue of 80 people to build up to let 3 cars go past by. And you were right immediately, more cars than bikes. Most people immediately see, hey, the cyclists are doing wrong, they're going on the sidewalk, especially when they talk to Germans. You immediately see that all the rules are being ignored, they are blocking the block, etc. And this is, it sounds like a joke, but it really is. Germans and Swiss people, they really notice this. But this is a policy thing. The traffic light control guy says everybody gets his own amount of green time, and all the cyclists we can, and just look how little time a whole group of cyclists needs to go through the green light. It's really quick. Imagine having 70, 80 cars going on a single lane through a traffic light. That takes minutes. This is maybe 10 seconds. So it's an incredible efficient way to move people. But the traffic light is controlled, so they're breaking the law. And if you've got a cop over here, he might start fining the cyclist. Luckily, Dutch cops know also that is a bit ridiculous, so they don't, luckily. But this also was brought forward to the traffic light guys, and they said, yeah, but we've got our scripts, and we measure congestion. 7 cars waiting is a traffic jam in the Netherlands. 70 cyclists, yeah, they're not being measured. They're not being counted. This movie, but also the recurrence of this traffic jam made actually possible that the traffic light controller said, well, you've got a phase. And so every traffic light has got phasing. And now cyclists get twice per long phase green instead of once, solving the traffic jam. It's extra 10 seconds, but it works. Oh, wait. But then we go to intersections and intersection design. Going a little bit technical now for a few minutes. We've got loads of intersections in the Netherlands. And in all kinds of forms. But the main thing is that we try to remove cyclists and protect them from turning and moving cars. But yeah, every intersection is different. And as you can see, we do not have grids. So it's really, we try to find as the right solution for each different situation. So there are a few things we want to try, we would like to, we do to implement. We've got a toolkit, a toolbox, where we say if we want to make cycling safer at intersections, there are a few things you can do. The first is the main thing in protected intersections is protect the cyclist from turning traffic. So create traffic islands, move the cycle path a little bit backwards so that you can wait and you will never get hit by a truck or a car. Create protected bike lanes. If you've got the same phase with right turning traffic and ongoing cyclists, make sure that the stopping point is in front of the cars so the car driver sees the cyclist and that the cyclist is quickly over the intersection. But even better, let them have their own green phase so you don't have conflicts. Create a traffic island in the middle of the road. Because I just mentioned those 5-6 lane bent roads, if you want to cross them, they're very long, and especially if you're slow and by foot. And you've crossed the first 3 lanes, there might already be a car coming you didn't see. If so, you have a traffic island where you can have refuge, where you can stop and re-evaluate and continue. And even do that with signalized intersections, because sometimes the traffic lights don't work. Design the intersection that's really difficult to speed through the intersection. Narrow lanes, tight curves, which also make for a more compact intersection. Keep speeds down, because if something happens then the outcome is less severe. And if there is a cycling crossing and cyclists have priority, give them a different color. Create a waiting space for pedestrians. A two-way crossing. A two-way crossing is a little bit typical. Why is it only on one point? Because on the right, you see a bidirectional cycling path. And if people want to turn left, you either have to do 1, 2, 3 crossings, or you just facilitate an otherwise illegal maneuver. Because people will do it. Because nobody will take 3 turns to turn left. And then you're coming about your signal phasing. So if you go phase 1, phase 2, turning traffic, and the other turning traffic. And with this, you've got an intersection where a car and a cyclist, if everybody sticks to the rules, never meet each other. But not everything's perfect, but how does this function? So we've got a road here. You come up, you see 2 different lights. From this side, only 1 light. But here you see the people waiting on a protected island. Cars are turning, they've got a green light. But you can wait here and very relaxed, because you know a car is not going to hit you, because there's this big pole standing here. The car drivers don't like to hit poles because it scratches their paint. And you saw also a big truck and other people. It's actually really relaxed and you feel safe. You would let your kids ride here. The traffic light for the cars go to red. A little bit later, we have to wait for the clearance timing, and there the cyclists go. Oh wait, I'm pushing the wrong button. And you can also do 4-way green. This is in the city of Groningen where Joost lives. They love it here, and I like it as well. So first go to cars, and then at one point we give the cyclist a green light. So wait for the cars, come to a full stop, and there the cyclists go. Straight on and diagonally. And why does this work? Who knows, why does this work? Low speeds. And sorry?
All the cars are stopped?
Cars are out of the equation, low speeds. Anybody else?
If there's not a prescribed place for people to be, they look out for each other.
Exactly. Those 3 things together make that this works. Because people are looking out for each other, and that's possible with low speeds. For me, a cyclist is a human being, a pretty fast human being, but up to 12, 13, 14, 15 miles an hour, you're able to ride your bike, see somebody coming, communicate, just by looking somebody in the eye, and show them your intentions subconsciously. Just like if you've got a huge mass of people at a festival and you're walking through a crowd and somebody else is also walking, you never hit somebody because you just communicate with each other. It's what human beings do. That's why this functions. But this is also very much about fietsen and not about road cycling. Like I said, I was going to go a little bit technical, and once again we're going to talk about cars. And once again I'm talking about cars to give them as little space as possible so we can create more space for pedestrians and cyclists. Connected traffic management. So what we do in the Netherlands, the federal government funded this. You've got information services, apps, navigation devices, whatever. They tell the software in the middle where the car is, where the cyclist is, and how fast they're going. The software in the cloud then calculates what is the best rhythm for a traffic light to handle all the traffic. And they send signals to the intelligent traffic light installations to handle all this traffic. And if you do it more efficient, you get results. So in Deventer, we did this, small city in the Netherlands. And the goals were better throughput, better environment, and better safety. And before I get to the results, I just want to show you how it works. So in this example, we've got a fire truck coming in. And the fire truck is fully connected. And the fire truck gets the highest priority. At the bottom, you will see a star coming in. On the right, you will see the controller, what it does. So the system knows the fire truck is going a certain route. And then all the traffic lights give green light for all the people waiting. You see a queue here. But they get already a green light because they know, the traffic light knows there are very many cars waiting. And you can see that the emergency vehicle just races through. Very efficient, but it saves so much space. And the cool thing is, if we are able to detect cyclists in this case, cyclists get more points than cars, so they're more important. So here a group of cyclists come, the system detects, hey, it's a group of cyclists, and they get an automatic green light. So you're able to influence the traffic light, and the policymakers are able to say, hey, I want to promote cycling. So if somebody on a bike gets 5 or 10 points, and somebody in a car just gets 1 point. And then the system just calculates what's most efficient. And the result of this is, it's quite interesting, 40% reduction in stops for vehicles, 10% reduction in vehicle loss hours. This is interesting, so 10% less hours waiting in traffic jams. And like I said, if you want to sell mobility solutions, sometimes you have to sell solutions for the car driver and able to get cycling things done. I'm working as a planner, I always have to deal with everybody. Less CO2, less NOx. And the interesting thing is, each city where we implement this, we all advise them, and they are all taking it over, is that you can do two things. You can either say, hey, we've got a more efficient system, let's get more cars into the city. Or you can say, we keep the amount of cars we allow in the city at 100%, and all the time or all the capacity we gain, we give that to the cyclists and the pedestrians so they get often or longer green lights. And every city has chosen the latter solution. So even by making it more efficient for cars, it's easier to cross and safer to cross. So a concrete example is this set of intersections. 4 intersections very close to each other, a main road. And we used to have 2 lanes on the left going outside of the city, and a cycle path combined with a pedestrian walkway going down, pretty narrow. And by optimizing the traffic lights, we could remove 1 outbound travel lane and create a fully segregated cycling facility. By increasing the efficiency of this intersection, we got rid of that where you now currently have a cycle lane, you're very close to car traffic, feels unsafe. We got rid of the car lane. We're able to get a protected intersection, buffered, and we pitch in a very tiny bit of green. And at intersections works once again, right turn for car, for green. You're fully protected, you can wait relaxed, red for cyclists, and a little bit later, we just change it and you will not meet a car. Let me talk a little bit about snacks. US portions, double. Sometimes you don't have the space to accommodate these huge amount of cyclists or whatever, cyclists or pedestrians. And then you have to look, like I said before, cyclists are just fast pedestrians. And they line up, and you get two French fries towards each other. So what you do, people start waiting at the traffic light. The slow people will wait on the right, but if you're fast, you will move to the left, and you'll wait at the far end. You get a green, you move up, and the whole big group of people will narrow down at the other side of the intersection. So by doing this, we have the same width, but we've got more capacity. And this only works because cyclists are human beings. They go at this intersection, they just start riding, they come towards each other, and they just look each other in the eye, and they do not collide. It works. Roundabouts. You've been building quite a few of them in Bend. I love them. Because a roundabout, everybody has to slow down, less conflict points, and even if something happens, because the speeds are low, the outcome is less severe. So this is a roundabout in Nijmegen at the university, and we've got segregated cycling facilities, and they place away from the travel lane 3 to 4 meters. Cyclists have priority. You can see that the buses go through. But because the cycle lane is set away from the car lane, the car driver, in this case the bus driver, the cyclist is not behind the bus driver, so he doesn't have to look over his shoulder, but it's in a 90-degree angle. So much better visibility, and it increased safety. An additional advantage is what you see in the bottom of the picture. You see the black car. He can turn off the roundabout, come to a full stop, giving cyclists priority without impeding the traffic flow. And this is important, because as a human being, you do not want to impede others, so you're being pushed to go quick. But now you can come to a full stop, just like that van is going to do. He will see me, he will see us as cycling. Cars are able to pass behind him. He can stop, give me priority, and there we go. And that car, he sees me coming, but he knows I can make it. He can cross the cycle lane, and then once again come to a full stop and look out for cars. So the task load on the car driver is also being reduced. He doesn't have to look out for pedestrians, cyclists, and cars, but he can look for pedestrian and cyclists, cross, stop again, look again, and continue. So by reducing the task load for the car driver, we're once again making it safer for everybody. This shudders are usually a bit at the beginning, but here we go. And this is also, you could have a signalized intersection where you have to stop. But like I said, I like keep on going routes. As a cyclist, you can keep on going. You just flow through the roundabout. You don't have to stop. You might not be going 20 miles an hour, but that's exactly the point. I do not want you to go 20 miles an hour, because then you can be a surprise for a car driver. And if you surprise a car driver, it's dangerous. Go 10 miles through the roundabout, but you keep on going. You've got momentum. Because every human being is lazy, and nobody wants to stop and get on moving again, even cyclists or fietsers. Let's see. So what we do, extra space between the cycling path and the travel lane, improve visibility, extra space to wait. And if we've got a low traffic zone, we signalize it immediately in the roundabout. And we can translate this and copy this to other countries. We've translated the concept of the Dutch roundabout to the UK and built a UK version of it. Emergency vehicles. I've heard that they're in Bend bigger than in the Netherlands and that you need space for them. This is the exit of our hospital. Loads of ambulances and emergency services come here. And we give them mountable curbs in order to pass traffic. Same on these main roads. But the interesting thing is this is really close to the hospital, but because it's more safe to narrow down travel lanes, have short crossings, we do not give in. We just build this roundabout like it is. And if an emergency vehicle comes, in reality, cars are able to move out of the way because speeds are low and the emergency vehicle goes through. And from a fire point of view, it looks like this. You go over the curbs. Oh shit, the car was blocked. Take the cycling path, take the fietspad. So you also can use good cycling infrastructure as emergency vehicle routes. You see the cyclists, they just move away. You're laughing, but this is really crucial for the fire department. Good infrastructure for cycling can help the fire department go around the city. If you're in a car, you're not able to move the car, but you're able to move as a cyclist. Over the mountable curbs, car's waiting. You have to wait a bit to make sure that the car sees him. Go to the left, and there we go. Is this easy, what I'm talking about? Is planning cycling infrastructure easy? No. You always find your enemies. There are always people opposing. And it's really difficult. Sometimes you have got these people say, no, I don't want this. But it's really important to keep in mind, to find what's going on. How can we make things better? Why are they opposing this? This is a street with a lot of shops, commercial services. Hey, I'm giving the answer away, that's annoying. But, I'm giving the end result away. But how did we go from a car-packed street to a street with more bicycle parking, green, outside seating, etc.? We did a research in this street. All the shopkeepers said, we need the parking, it's good for business. And then the municipality did a research, and they found out that 60 to 70% of the cars would get in at 8:30 in the morning and would leave at 5:05. Those were not customers. Those were people working in the shops, people owning the shops, 60% of the parking spaces. So the city proposed to give them a license to park a few hundred meters away on a dedicated square. And then they got rid of 60% of the parking spots, made it a nicer street. Now there are more people shopping, more people coming. So it is also challenging the ideas. Same here, providing the parking space, challenging thinking about what is the problem of the opponent. Same here. We were planning a cycling highway, 4 meters, lights, very fancy. If I talk to engineers, this is not a cycling highway. You cannot use this as a proper cycling route. No. And that was also the problem I had. Because this is a nature area. I went to the nature people, to the forest guys. So I came into their office, they were sitting there. You are not going to build a cycling highway. And they were armed, which is very unusual in the Netherlands. You're not going to build a cycling highway through a forest. But I said, it's already good. No, it is not good. They said, you need 4 meters, you need this asphalt, you need the lights. I said, mwah, it's already good as it is. I need to improve otherwise, but I want to make some small improvements. And they didn't believe me. So I said, come on, let's have a look. Okay, so they got out, got in their F-150, in their pickup. Are you joining us? I said, no, I've got my bike with me. So I biked behind them. And they were like, this is strange. So we got at the first point, at the beginning of this stretch. We got out and they said, what do you want to change here? I said, nothing. This is good, it functions. Oh, really? Yeah. We went a little bit further on the same stretch. We stopped. Do you want to change anything here? Probably not, eh? No, this is good. I mean, we can spend a lot of money adding an extra foot of width. But that's a waste of money. So much money for that extra foot. Most people won't notice it. So then we went a little bit further, second stop, and there were 2 turns. There were trees and bushes obstructing the view around the turn. So they got out and they said, I think this is a problem. Yeah, I see it. You're right. We see this as a problem as well. We can remove that tree, and that tree, and we'll put asphalt here. So the forest guys were now telling me that they were going to cut down trees. Because we challenged their ideas, their perception of what the project was. And we used red asphalt a lot. But yeah, same here, landscape. People like their old dirt road. So I said, okay, we're going to build a beautiful road with a dedicated pedestrian facility on the right, which people really use, and it fits the landscape better. But we said we're not purely focused on cycling. We're making the cycling route fit the landscape. This is the old road we had with metal fences, and this area is known for its green hedges. So we said we're going to build green hedges, yellow asphalt that fits the landscape. There we go. That's how we got support. Took us 2 years to get from total opposition to approval of the community. 2 years of talking and able to do this. So it's not always easy. But in the end, you come in the village, you ride your bike, you're completely relaxed. And this is a keep on going route. You see a road over there. But because this road, the cycle path, is so important, we said, okay, we're going to give priority to the cyclist. So this is a priority crossing. Only do that when you expect a lot of cyclists, not if there was one a day, don't do it. But a lot of cyclists come here, you get priority over car traffic, and in this way we're slowly changing the way people travel. And these projects in the Netherlands have led to a big increase in cycling. And sometimes you hit other things, like a railway track, and you need to build an underpass. You talk for 2 years with the railway operator, and then they allow you to build an underpass in 76 hours. And it's much cheaper to do this in 76 hours than to keep working with a live railway. But we had to wait for 2 years to find the right spot when there were railway work somewhere else on the track, then we were allowed to do this. But we're now creating connections. We're creating connections between communities, just like the Hawthorne Bridge, the pedestrian and cycling bridge, which is in the plans, probably will be as well. Up, sand comes back, and we're finished. And sometimes you have to dream. Sometimes you really have to think far. You see here a railway bridge. There is a little town of Kuik, which is south of the river. It's in the province of Noord-Brabant, so it's in a different state. Across the river is the province of Limburg, second state. And I used to work for the region of Arnhem-Nijmegen, an NPO, which is located in Gelderland, the third state. So we've got 3 states, a regional office, and 4 municipalities who need to cooperate. Some people say, yeah, it's not possible. But what I did as planner, I went to my boss and said, hey, if I can make this bridge possible, can I get funding? If you can do it, you get 3 million. So I went to the state of Noord-Brabant. I've got 3 million euro to make this bridge possible. Can you match that? Yeah, we can match it, 3 million. Then I went to Gelderland. I've got 6 million. Can you match that? I've got 2. So I've got 8. I went literally to the third state and they had only 1 million. I did them last because I knew they were not very cycling friendly. So I had 9 million. I talked to the towns and they had 2 million, so I had 11 million already. And then I got the politicians together. Hey, we can build this bridge. It's 17 million euro. We're just lacking 6. We're almost there. And then they said, okay, let's get working, let's get planning. That was in 2010. This is 2021. We built a bridge. It took 11 years of planning. It started with me meeting a civil servant from across the river in 2010, pitching this idea. And now we've got a bridge which connects communities, which is being used by commuters during the week, but in the weekend it's used by recreational cyclists because they just enjoy riding the Keep on Going route. This is how it looks. And we see over 2,000 people a day using this. We're creating high quality connections which are attractive, fun, and nice to use. This is how you get people riding. Avoid hills. Go around them. Because the Netherlands are flat. We don't like hills. In reality, we're avoiding that intersection up there, but it's a nice thing to say. And I can tell you, riding in the Netherlands, you've got beautiful weather here, this time of year. In the Netherlands, currently I got a text from my girlfriend, it's raining. for the whole week. It's cold, 63 degrees in the middle of summer. So we do not have the perfect weather for cycling. If you ride this path in the morning, you can have a strong headwind. It's 10 miles. And if you're unlucky, in the afternoon, you've got a headwind again. It's completely unpredictable. A hill is always there. You know when you're on top of it, and you will get a reward when you go down. Flat country with winds, it's not always the same. So we build projects, look at innovative ways to build them, cool things. But like I said, I talked a bit about community, I talked about inclusion, but let's talk a little bit about politicians. You have to sometimes celebrate politicians. Even if they are not your advocates, you sometimes have to give them the spotlight and say, you did a great job. But who knows, if they like it, that you're opening a cycling project, if they see this turnout for 100 people when they do their work, they think, hey, this is cool, I want more. So when we open up a cycling project, we celebrate. We have the local mayor, the regional mayor, the state mayor, a few other mayors behind. And we've got our first user, a little boy who was looking at the construction of this tunnel. We celebrate. We give the politicians their prime spot, and if they've got the feeling, hey, these are, my chairman told me always, Sjors, you're working on a cycling project, these are cuddly projects. I like them, because we're building something good, we're building something positive, everybody agrees, let's build more. Because he always had troubles with highways, with the bus, or with finances, so he had so much difficult things to do. But the cycling projects, he loved them, and he wanted more because they just went well. Celebrate them. Celebrate with school kids, because they are going to use it. Celebrate with your community, with Bike Bend. Honor your advocates. That guy on the right, he was a pain in the ass. We were developing a cycling highway, and he was criticizing me. It was not you're not doing it good enough. It's not, yeah, it can be better, and you need to build an extra underpass and even more and more. And we're talking about a cycling highway in the Netherlands. It's one of the famous cycling highways, the Rijnwaalpad. And he was not happy. But he kept us sharp. He kept us sharp when we were planning it. And at the end, he played his role, and we also gave him a short moment in spotlights. He didn't like it, to be honest, but he deserved it. It's the role an advocate plays. You have to honor it. So we get these results, beautiful underpasses, big projects. Design of underpasses, really important. Leaning walls, makes it look nicer. You've got decks, but with natural light coming in, and you can see straight through. It's not like the Franklin Tunnel where there's a bend where you cannot look through, but there can be a creep in this underpass. But before you enter, you will see him. And you're laughing, but this matters. This matters about how you feel. You build beautiful projects, great cycling bridges. Cycling bridge? Nah, this is a car bridge. It's also, once again, reimagining the story. This bridge is being used by 6,000 annoying cyclists a day, maybe 7,000. They block traffic if we would have a traffic light. So they would block traffic flow for the 40,000 cars below. If we had a traffic light, those cars would have to wait 30 seconds per car. 40,000 cars, 20,000 minutes of lost time because of those annoying cyclists. So we got money for this bridge, not on the premise that it improves cycling. We got money because it improves the flow of traffic. I don't care where the money comes from. Because in the end, these people are using it. That's what happens. So we built nice infrastructure for fietsers. But when I talked about fietsers, I also talked about a mental map. Fietsers and cyclists, you probably all know where the good trails and roads are. But the car drivers don't. And we need to get the car drivers on board and turn them into fietsers. So we look at marketing, we look at imaging, and when we developed the Rijnwaalpad, the cycling highway, we developed an app that gave information, and the cool thing is, in that underpass, you could control the lights. With the app, if you would start riding for the first time, you could pick two colors, pink and green. And if you would go to the tunnel would light up in your own color. If you would ride more often, you would unlock more colors, and you could pick the color you like, yellow, red, whatever. It worked. Sometimes it didn't. If you would go through, and it would show another color, you would get a message, you're not riding often enough, somebody else as more credits, so they got their color. This all worked, but I'm speaking in the past tense. And the reason why we discontinued the app is that we forgot one basic thing. Fietsen is not a thing you do out of sport or because it's special. No, it's a mode of transportation. It's a utilitarian thing. You just do it. You get on your bike, you ride, you get off, and you go do stuff. You don't think about it. You don't want to activate an app to control the lighting. People didn't use it. That's what we forgot. But still, good story. What did work is the brand, the logo. It's a bit extreme, I must admit. But going to Nijmegen, it lights up yellow. It's a bicycle chain. And we put these on light posts on the cycling highway. Going to Arnhem, it's pink. But I'm really sure that there's not a single car driver, the target group, who does not know that there's an alternative. These lights are marketing. If I launch a new product, like a new brand of Coca-Cola or a new, I don't know what, there's a marketing budget of so high. We launched a new product, which is the cycling highway, the Keep on Going route, between Arnhem and Nijmegen, and we had 6% to do marketing and promotion of the project. And out of that 6%, we were able to build these lights. And for me, this is a personal note. Cycling is coming home. I made this movie when I came back from a beautiful holiday in the US. I felt really happy. I had a great holiday. But I was here on my bike and I felt even happier. I felt I was home. And for me, there was something going on. I couldn't figure it out. Why am I feeling so happy? What's happening? And when I was riding, and the moment I started filming, I got it. I was in the US, traveled, saw the national parks for 3 weeks. I saw Buicks, Mercedes, trucks. Here, I saw Jan, Piet, Klaas, Marijtje. I saw human beings. I had contact. I was on the street, in the city. I was part of the community, part of the place where I belong, but where I have contact, where I connect. Even if it's very short, just by looking at them. But this made me really happy. This made me feel to the place where I belong. And this is what cycling and walking can do. I was on my way to the train station. I was on my way to catch a train. In the Netherlands, 40% to 60% of all train travelers come to the station by bike. We increase the catchment area, and we need parking garages to park your bike. But this, for me, was coming home, being with people, enjoying myself. And this is what cycling can do for your community. And after spending here 2 days, working on the workshops, you see some of the plans we developed. I think that if you push, and you support your commissioners, you support your politicians, and you keep on pushing, you can make Bend a beautiful place. It is already beautiful, I must admit. I mean, it's amazing. But you can get so many more people cycling if you think about fietsers, safety, and just a feeling of belonging somewhere. Thank you for listening. And I think it's now time for a Q&A.
Yeah, we, excuse me, we'll do probably 15 minutes of Q&A, and I'll walk around, pass the mic to you, ask your question, and pass it back. And after that, we're gonna try to keep it to about 20 minutes to do a really quick recap of both groups. We're kind of gonna fly right through it because it was 2 days of work, but I'll just start over here.
What kind of pavement are they using? I noticed most of it's red. Is it painted that way, or is it asphalt?
It's asphalt with ingrained bitumens.
With ingrained what?
Bitumens, yeah. So it's true and true farbed asphalt.
Okay.
So the bottom and middle layer is just black asphalt, and the top layer is a red asphalt, which is true and true farbed. So it's not paint, it's dyed asphalt.
I was wondering when you said the kind of the changeover, the major change in the country was over a 10-year time period. So I'm wondering if you know of any political differences between our countries. Like we have a 2-year cycle when we are going to elect a new city council, et cetera. Is there any difference that makes it easier to do a long-term project like that you know of?
I wouldn't say it's easier or more difficult. It's just different. You have to deal with your circumstances. In the cities in the Netherlands, they get a new council every 4 years. You've got 30 council members, and they elect the executive mayors, 5, 4, 7, depending on the city. And those executive mayors, they hold the executive power to do projects, which is then granted to them by the council. But we've got a multi-party system, so sometimes we've got a left wing, sometimes we've got a right wing. It can shift, and you have to work with the state level, and they've also got elections, but those are different moments than the local. And the national level, also different moments. So we're working with 3 levels which constantly change. So my main advice is when you work in this, try to develop a current policy, so like the bicycle network plan, formulate your goals, and stick to them, repeat them, and make them well known. Because if you change every 2 years, I know that makes it a little bit more difficult, but still, at one point, you make a decision, and when the funds are available, go, 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 and try to build it.
So I'm a planner, but I also know a lot of engineers, and whenever I have creative ideas, the engineers rush in and say that there's a design manual answer that squashes the creative ideas. I'm kind of curious, both for a domestic engineer audience here, but also from your perspective, it sounds like there's a lot of kind of customized intersection-based design solutions that are implemented, but I'm wondering if you can speak to, are there the same sort of rigid design manuals that you have to contend with there? And then from the perspective of domestic engineers, is there any reason why a lot of these ideas couldn't be immediately be baked into local design manuals here in the US?
Well, there's an engineer sitting next to you. I know. But I think the first tip is make sure that you've got your engineers close to you, because they usually like to say, no, we've never done this before, it's not possible, because it's an easy answer. But if you've got an engineer close to you, you can push him, challenge him, and see what's possible, what can we do. And usually there is usually a loophole, but the engineers usually don't have the loophole right there either. So you have to work with them, find a way to get it done. There is a major difference though, and that's a legal issue. If we, or as a consultancy, design an intersection in the Netherlands, and the municipality says, hey, it's okay, and something happens, we are usually not being sued, or they are not able to sue us. Where in the US, if an engineer creates an intersection and something happens, he might get sued. And this protection for the engineers, that they can develop new ideas and not get sued, makes it a little bit easier to be more creative. But if you look at the guidelines and design manuals in the US, they are being updated, and a lot of people in the US are looking to the Netherlands, to Denmark, and copying or copy-pasting or adapting ideas which fit. But you need to have engineers which are willing to do so. You need to have planners who are willing to do so. You need to have the capacity to do this, because it costs time. And this is also an issue with local governments. Usually the people don't have time. They're working as hard as they can, but finding creative solutions. I saw that the picture of the colleague who was sitting like this. It takes sometimes time, and people don't always have that. And so it's a multifaceted challenge.
Can you talk about the education process for motorists? Because it was interesting, you said there were places where the cyclists had right-of-way over the motorist. I just imagine that there must have been a process to educate them about the change, because even today here in Bend, in residential neighborhoods where the speed limit is 25. We find it hard to get people to drive that right now.
No, we didn't educate them because it's really difficult to educate 50 million motorists. But we use existing design things which we have available. So for example, what you could do here in Bend, if you've got 6th Street, make it continuous, and every side street gets a stop sign. You already have got priority within existing rules. So that's one. Two, we design our streets that they tell a story. And I haven't said that explicitly during my presentation, but you saw those wide roads, and they tell a story that you can speed. Those narrow roads with speed bumps with the red color, they tell a story that you go slow because you're in a residential neighborhood. If you have these low traffic neighborhoods, and if you enter such a neighborhood, there's always a speed bump and a smaller road telling you as a driver, you're now entering a low traffic neighborhood, a traffic calm neighborhood. The problem, what I think is really difficult in the US, and what we as Dutch find it difficult to understand, is that you've got a road, a highway, 55 miles an hour, and then suddenly I see a sign 40 miles an hour, and then see a sign 30 miles an hour, but the road doesn't change. So you need signs. But we try to design a road in a way that you do not need signs. We still use them, of course, because of legal issues. But we try to make sure that the road tells a story to the user. And if you've got a road telling the story, then the car driver is much more likely to stop and behave in the way we want to. When on a 55 mile an hour highway, and there's a sign 25 miles an hour, it just feels stupid. Even for me.
I'm going to ask you to comment on two situations. First of all, as you plan these bicycle routes, are you also planning for public transportation, trains and buses? That's one issue. The other issue I noticed is your bike lanes are clean. I mean, how do you plan to encourage government to maintain these bike lanes?
So we also plan for buses and trains. But for example, I showed you the big bicycle parking garage. And what we see is, for example, with transit, if you walk to a transit station, your catchment area is about half a mile around the transit station. But if you are able to ride to a transit station, your catchment area is 2 to 3 miles. So it's way bigger. What we see is a very nice go-together. So we create cycling paths to the train station, so people can ride to the station and then go by train towards the city further on. Or they can ride to a regional bus stop, where you've got a regional quick bus line on the edge of town. You ride to the edge of town with your bike, park your bike, get on the bus, and it brings you really quickly to Redmond or Sisters or wherever. So there we see a win-win. We try to avoid bus lanes with bicycles on them, because buses are big and lump. Difference in mass is huge with a cyclist, so we try to avoid that. Sometimes, in a city where you have space constraint or where it's not always possible, it can be a good intermediate solution. Because as you will see in the designs as well, I'm now showing the Netherlands, which have been working on it for decades, but you need steps to come where you want to be. And your second question was, Sjors? Maintenance, yeah. If you've got loads of cyclists, it's already easy to do maintenance. That's one. But two, we've got these little sweepers, and they can sweep the cycling paths. And they double function as snow plows. So I've got these really tiny snow plows which fit a cycle path. And the interesting thing is, during a snowstorm, the city where I live, all the big snow plows are stuck in the traffic jam because we get a gridlock. And the little ones, they're cleaning the cycling paths, and it's easier to go by bike through the city in the snowstorm. But in my city, 40 to 60% of the trips within the city are made by bicycle. And if it's so big, you notice it in your city. There are way less cars, and it's a much nicer city, but you need to maintain it. And the city government, they know, so they provide the funds. But here, once again, here is step by step by step.
I do believe the Bend MPO has just funded the city for a little, or 2 little sweepers with snowplows, so that's fun.
Yeah. So I have a 2-part commentary question. I'm a mom, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that can speak to parenting and little people. And I live up off of the edge of town towards Mount Bachelor, and the trouble that my neighborhood has had with deaths and morbidity crossing the highway near the base of the mountain has been pretty high, and it's the same topic that you bring up, where the reasoning behind why traffic changes can't occur revolve around needing to change the environment of the street. And those pictures that you brought were amazing, and I think that's exactly what they are citing as their dream, but that is actually what they cite as the impediment to putting those slowing traffic processes in place, because those changes cost a lot more than a cop with a radar, gun and speed signs. So that's one question. I'm wondering if you noticed that in terms of your fundraising and payments. And then the second question is, as a parent,
Please,
yeah,
I'll just with the start with the first. Yeah, we noticed this, but police already acknowledges that a more narrow street means that they do it's for them easier as well. Emergency service, I heard today that emergency service in Bend, the fire department was also saying, we need narrower street because we will get fewer crashes. Keep on talking, keep on telling the story, keep on pushing.
Yep.
Get good examples from the Netherlands, but also get good examples from the US.
Yep.
Because I'm this Dutch guy, and the crazy Dutch people do it. But if you go to Poland or Eugene, maybe they've got great solutions, because I'm preaching here to the choir, but sometimes a US solution can work with a conservative engineer where a Dutch solution cannot.
Yeah, thank you.
Second question.
Yeah, the second part was just coming from a parent, over the years, like riding around town, getting yelled at in roundabouts, yelled at on sidewalks, towing kids, and really only wanting divided, separate, safe pathways for riding with my kids. The protected bike lanes have been really important to me, and thank you for all the people that have been making this happen. But as I look at paths towards my kids' independence, and I'm watching them ride around, and I see how many bike car issues there are, and I'm trying to advocate for change in schools, I really feel like kids can be that megaphone for change, both from an environmental standpoint, but also for infrastructure. And I'm wondering if you guys leverage that at all in the projects that you were in, or senior community. So, here we have a whole bunch of sort of able-bodied people, but we're looking at 8 to 80, and we want to know, how did you include those younger and older populations in leveraging for politicians, leveraging for money earning, raising for your work?
For the keep on going routes or cycling highways, I didn't do that so much, because the story there was reducing traffic jams. Because that was where the money was during those times. So I'm talking about 2008 to 2017. That was a story which got me money. For the last 2-3 years, what we see in the Netherlands is that cycling is being valued higher and higher. And themes like equity, inclusiveness are coming up. So I'm developing a policy plan for the city of Roosendaal, 100,000 inhabitants. And the whole child issue, the freedom of cycling, the independence, or the slow path to independence which cycling gives. I told that story to the council because I wanted to test them, to see how they reacted. And even the most conservative party felt, hey, the freedom of movement for young adults is important to us. I got them. You need to build cycling infrastructure. And the conservatives don't want to build cycling infrastructure, they want to build car infrastructure. But by indeed leveraging the idea that you give freedom and independence to your population, struck with the conservatives. With the Greens, it's a different story. It's of course also this, but it also goes about climate, heat stress. And with the social democrats, the story there goes about inclusion for example, minorities. So depending on whom I speak to, I use and I leverage groups to get funding for the projects. Because in the end, we're talking about fietsers from A to 80. I organized Velocity, which is the biggest cycling conference in the world, in 2017 in my hometown. And the theme was the freedom of cycling. And this for me is a very special thing. Because as a kid, I lived in a small village, I did everything by bike. When I was 12, and this is a rite of passage in the Netherlands, most people get a new bike, kids, and they have to go to high school. And for me that meant, a 7-mile one-way trip from my village through another village to the city. Every morning at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, I would get on my bike, bye mom, I would go, and at 4 I would be back. 12 or 13 years old. But between, let's say 7 and 4, 9 hours, I had independence. I had autonomy. I had to go to school on my own. I had my own little responsibility to bring my whole body to school and follow lessons. And this is very little, but this was a little bit of independence. And after school, if school was out early, I could go to the city, grab a döner, eat fast food, and then go home. I wasn't bound by a school bus system or whatever. And so for me, the bicycle gave me, as a young adult, independence. And this was for me really important because I could get a job at a trucking company when I was 16 to earn a bit of money. And I didn't have my parents didn't have to chauffeur me around. I just could do this and be slightly independent. And when I was 18, I went to university and went to live on my own. But that step wasn't as big as it otherwise might have been. And this, for me, is very typical to Dutch society. And yes, children get killed on the roads in the Netherlands. 12 to 18-year-olds have a high risk of being killed. And we're working on it to make it safer. But in the whole trade-off on a huge society, I think it's way better to have people independent and moving than chauffeuring them around in big SUVs, because big SUVs also kill people. So and this is what, for me, fietsen is. I think we're almost.
I think that's been 15 minutes. Yeah. I would welcome you to give Sjors another round of applause.
Thank you.
And I wasn't going to work for this on months without missing the opportunity to ask you all for something to do for me. And that is to observe the streets that you bike around, walk around, drive around, and recognize, is this a street that we should be mixing traffic, slow and fast traffic, or cars and bikes, and doing traffic calming, or is this a street that we should separate them? And another level is this a street that we should be doing a temporary solution with painted lines, bollards, Duracurb, parking protected systems? Or is this, does this project have the funding that we're doing new and we should remove that bike lane and put it next to the sidewalk like they've done all over the Netherlands? So I just want you to observe the streets and just kind of be aware of it in the next few months. I do apologize. I think I'm going to. Yeah, we're gonna go through the workshop, and this is kind of what we did. Is we had printed maps, and we tried to draw on them and use a lot of the principles that Sjors taught us. So I'm going to invite Corey down here, and she's going to go through. Corey's with Central Oregon Land Watch. She's going to go through the core area, and then I'm going to go through kind of the 6th Street Greenway and Boyd Acres Butler roundabout, or not roundabout, but intersection. And I think that'll answer your question.
And if it doesn't, we can go hang out by our drawings and talk more about them. So yes, I'm Corey Harlan. I'm with Central Oregon Land Watch. I'm the Cities and Towns Program Manager. Our whole reason for being is to help deliver complete communities to Bend in Central Oregon. We think complete communities have housing options for all. They keep nature nearby and in our neighborhoods. They're mixed use, so the stuff that you need is closer to where you live. And of course, convenient and easy and safe ways to get around that don't always require a car. So they're bikeable, walkable, rollable. So we, of course, really thrilled to be a part of bringing this workshop to Bend. A lot of other great partners were a part of that, as you heard. And for folks who participated in the workshops, could you just put your hands up for a sec too? So a big round of applause for everybody. Because it has been wonderful, but also a lot of work the last 2 days. So I'm going to try and take 2 days of intensive work. We did a 30-minute version of this earlier today. Now I'm going to try and aim for about a 10-minute version of this. So thanks for sticking with me. And I made some notes because I'm repping a whole team of people that spent a ton of time here, and I'm trying to do it justice. So as mentioned, our group, our original charge was 2nd Street between Franklin and Greenwood. And so you're going to see some concepts and designs that we did there. I would say that for our group, where we ended up, it will, I think, resonate with this group. And what we saw in the previous presentation is that we landed on the weakest link. And we all know that 3rd is a huge barrier to making Bend a more bikeable, walkable place. And so our work inevitably started moving into a space where we were looking at the intersections of 3rd and Franklin, 3rd and Greenwood, and then 3rd and Hawthorne. So that was really great, because that's the thing that we really need to start thinking about and tackling, as we've seen, is that we can have these great networks, but we're only as good as our weakest link. So we need to start digging in on that tough stuff. So let's go. I think I'm going to try and tick through these pretty quickly, because as mentioned, a lot of this work is around the room. And I think the pictures don't necessarily do it justice, so I'm going to try and do quick hits here, but please know that all of this is in this space here and then in the other room, and we'll be there to answer questions. So portion of our team really took a more zoomed out look, a systems approach of saying, hey, when we look at 2nd Street, we look at this portion between Franklin and Greenwood, where do we want cars to be prioritized, and where do we want bikes to be prioritized? And I think for me, at least, really trying to shift my thinking about where do cars go and where are they going to be, and making sure that they can move efficiently, how that connects to allowing more space for bikes and peds was really a game changer in how looking at this work. So you can see here, this is more of a network and a system approach. Again, dive into the details on the wall, but you can see kind of that hashed out section there. That is a bike ped only. That is Hawthorne. And so we really all kind of keyed in on this idea as Hawthorne being our bike highway in Bend, and being this big east-west spine where we are really prioritizing and making sure this is our keep going route. And we're going to dive a little deeper through some of the other pieces here. As mentioned, we kind of got into that space where we were trying to look at some of these more complicated intersections. I believe this one is 2nd in Greenwood. Anyone who tried to get here tonight knows there's a big giant barrier down the middle of that thing. And so this was really trying to explore how can we move cars more efficiently through this space, yes. How can we do it with fewer lanes, right? Because in the right-of-way, every foot matters. And so what we were really trying to figure out is if we can get more efficient with where the cars are, can we make room for better bike ped facilities and fully separated bike ped facilities in the right-of-way? So this is one of those concepts. Another one of our groups really kind of dove in specifically on 2nd Street and the intersection at Hawthorne. What we ended up doing is spending quite a bit of time on 3rd and Hawthorne, because I think I hear this sometimes, right? Like, we don't want Hawthorne to be a bridge to nowhere. Hawthorne Bridge is something that is incredibly exciting. We all know in this community, and Landwatch is really proud to have been a part of working with the city and working with the chamber and all of you to get tremendous federal and state funding to match our local funding to make the bridge happen. But it is just a piece of a much bigger puzzle. And so that puzzle, that bigger picture, is Drake to Juniper. That's what we've talked about, connecting Drake Park all the way to Juniper. We pushed it a little further in this workshop, and we said, you know what? It actually should be Pilot Butte. So Pilot Butte to Drake, because Pilot Butte, if we can get there, then we're getting to the Larkspur Trail. So it was really exciting stuff. If you can't tell, it was a lot of energy, a lot of excitement. But one of the things we talked about was an undercrossing at 3rd and Hawthorne. And so we really had this great team to help us think through. This is an example from the Netherlands, kind of a big park-like, more wide setting, like as mentioned, 25 feet on the top, so kind of like wider on the top, narrower on the bottom, to make this just a really great thoroughfare you can see all the way through. Here's what it would look like to travel through a tunnel like that, clear lines of sight. You can see there's daylighting in the middle of the tunnel. That's natural daylighting. So that was something that we were really interested in trying to explore. And then you kind of pop out on the other end in a more narrow space, because that would allow us to pop out essentially on Hawthorne, where the current bus station is, if we really want that to be a mobility hub, and have an increased transit system, really trying to figure out how we could get buses moving through there too. So again, these really don't do it justice, but essentially what you're seeing here is that wider entry going under 3rd, popping out here on Hawthorne in a narrow fashion. This is a median on the middle, on the upper part on the actual surface of the road, and that hash mark is the daylighting, so a place where we can allow natural light in there. We're pretty excited to try and explore that and see how that could work. The other thing, if you've ever stood on Hawthorne and looked up this way towards 3rd, you know that there's a natural increase in the grade there. And so something that we talked about was bringing the grade, of elevating this intersection 3 to 5 feet. So not anything crazy, just a little. But what that does, it allows that you don't have to dig down as far. And so we all know in Bend, lava, basalt, you don't get down to very far before you hit that. So the less we can dig, the cheaper delivering a piece of infrastructure like this would be. So so that was one that we definitely wanted to highlight here. Let's see what else. If we can't have the undercrossing, we have another idea. This one was really about, again, trying to limit car access on Hawthorne and make this a bike ped focused place with buses there by the Hawthorne station. And so what you're seeing here are these big sort of planted medians, which are taking 3rd down to a single lane of traffic moving in each direction, so that as a pedestrian, you have a safer and more narrow crossing here that's protected. And then we also have some of those modal filters that we've talked about that really make sure bikes can move through, and then allowing mobility for the bus to turn right and left via a bike and bus signal. So those are some of the ideas that we were exploring for 3rd and Hawthorne. How am I doing on time, James? All right. Give me 2 more minutes. I'll go quick, I promise. Okay, so this is 2nd and Hawthorne. And again, the things that there's lots of things that we could highlight, but essentially what we're seeing here is trying to kind of extend the network of car-free zone around Hawthorne. And what we discovered is that what we were excited about in this design is that this is 2nd, right? And 2nd is at the heart of the BCD. It's in the heart of our city. And so this is a nice solution because it really creates some great spaces for bike peds only, but it is also going to allow for the flow of cars, slow flow of cars, safe flow of cars in the space to find parking and be in the district and circulate through. So we had a few different ideas, moving a motor filter kind of mid-block so that a car entering here could kind of flow through the alley access, or kind of closer to the intersection so that they're flowing through this way on a more main street. And I'm sure there's more stuff I could say, but we're just gonna haul through this. Here's a cross-section of what we're hoping to see in all of the streets in the BCD, in the Bend Central District. I think folks know the vision of our community is this is a more dense, mixed-use, vibrant, redeveloped area. And so this is a concept that we really hope can be applied not only to 2nd Street, but to all of the streets in the district that are really meant to calm traffic and really have these streets tell that story that we heard about tonight, right? That this is a place where we go slow, this is a place where we share the road, this is a place where everybody is moving safely. So we have an 18-inch road there in the middle that's shared, bikes and cars. a foot on either side of a rolled curb that allows for 20 feet essentially, and that is a wide enough road for emergency access. The next piece out is 8 feet. We had envisioned alternating parking, trees, bike parking, and then also additional fire access or emergency space. Next kind of segment out on either side is the sidewalk. And then we had this extra 12 feet to play with for flex area. So cafes, art, commerce, or just an open sidewalk. This was the final group, and they really dove deep and got really into it. This was a group of a lot of engineers. You can't tell. So this was, they did great. So this is second in Franklin. Again, really trying to figure out like how can we take what we have and move cars more efficiently, and if we can do that, then what does that create space for us? What else can we fit in here that's gonna be great for bikes and peds? So I'm gonna kind of skip through this one because essentially I think one of the big takeaways was the next one. So they did Greenwood in second. They spent almost a day and a half on this design. They did this one in 20 minutes. So I think it's one of those things where having spent the time, the good thinking was tough, but if we have a model, we have something that we can be applying to other intersections and looking for these solutions that can come much easier once we have the language and know how to do it. So I have a few kind of like key takeaways to share, but maybe I'll go after you, or what do you think? Okay. So mentioned Hawthorne as being this piece, bigger piece of the puzzle. There are a few other aha moments that I wanted to share for this group. One is Hawthorne Bridge. There's a lot of ideas about what it can be. We've talked about a park, we've talked about plazas, and I think what a big aha moment for us was today and in the last couple of days was that if we want this to be a bike highway, if we want this to be our keep going route, that we're gonna have to think about how some of those other very important needs are met elsewhere in the Bend Central District when we think about the design of this bridge. It can be beautiful, it can be amazing, but it really needs to be serving people who are using it as their main transit option. So I'm gonna put that out there. I think the other aha for us was around looking at Franklin and Third, and that I didn't show an image for that one. It was a really tough one. It was a tough problem for us to grapple with. And I think the reason why is that when we talk about one piece of this puzzle, it inevitably connects to all these other threads. And so we started talking about Third Street. And Third Street is our north-south. It is our main way that we are moving cars through our city. And we all know how much of a pain in the ass it is to move a car down Third. And so what it opened up was this discussion of saying, this is a bigger policy question. This is a bigger question for our city council and our community. If we want Third to be about flow, right, we need to start talking about what does it look like to limit left turns? What does it mean to start to say, hey, Safeway, maybe 8 access points on your property are not serving the entire community. You need access, but let's start talking about what some changes there might look like. So I think what this all kind of kicked off, like I think Neil and I were joking about this of like, oh gosh, like one more presentation to get through and it's kind of wrapped, and it's actually, this is just the beginning, right? Because this just, I think, opens up a ton of what's possible in our community. So I have a few other thoughts, but I'm way over time, so I guess I'm gonna leave it there.
Yeah, thank you, Corey. That was great. So yeah, my group worked on the neighborhood greenway up to Boyd Acres Butler, and I think the thing about the 6th Street Greenway is we have a little bit of funds for it, but why would we actually choose to use 6th Street versus 8th Street or go down to 4th or 3rd? And kind of what Sjors is saying is separate users. How do we not have everyone be exiting on or getting onto 8th Street all the time? Like, we want the flow of 8th Street, but how do we also push cars out to 8th Street and away from 6th Street and make 6th Street that that continuous path? So I think a lot of the ideas kind of centered around these modal filters, and there's a few different levels of filtering that I'll just kind of flip through here. I think this was more of a traffic calming measure. This would be maybe at Revere or Olney. So, yeah, giving people parking, sharing the space, chicanes, filtering at Olney or Revere. Greenwood and 6th is it's a step up from what it used to be right now, but if you've ever biked through there, it is extremely awkward to get that button and get through there. And as I understand it, we have a lot of good people at ODOT that were pulling for us and just needed a little more community support. I don't know. Yeah, another idea for 6th Street. I think Sjors mentioned this, but cars can still drive through here. It's just not very comfortable. So Boyd Acres, Butler Market, there was an outreach here recently. The city has this in their queue. So it was fun to work on this one. I mentioned it before, but this is Butler, Boyd, and we have a lot of new residential development and existing going on to the north. And why would they choose not 8th and then going down, but why would they choose Butler and then to deal with cul-de-sac chaos here, or go down, this way, which is very direct. And I have to be honest, I even challenged, was this a good one to do a workshop? Because I was very skeptical. And the feedback that I got was, because it's not direct, we need to make it beautiful. We need to make it a very enjoyable experience, and a place that you want to go. And so one of the thoughts was, to help with the user experience navigating these turns, to not make this look like a place that you should intuitively go to get through this little cul-de-sac area, add some trees, maybe put some bricks or some kind of striping in the road that just designates the flow. This was on Butler. We had an 80-foot right-of-way, and the typical drive aisle, we can go down to 2 lanes. They actually restriped this like last week, and have already done this with paint. But we can go down to 2 lanes. We can take our cycle track, do the grade separated next to the sidewalk, have trees, which are crucial, and we still have 7 feet on each side that we don't need. So it does fit. And when we go to the intersections, we do need this turn lane to make the intersections work, and we do lose a few feet, but there's still plenty of room. So this was a plan view, a typical plan view of Butler. Sidewalk, cycle track, greenery, trees, 2 lanes, raised crossings at all of the neighborhood inlets or businesses. Really the same thing. This one kind of ties into the next slide in that we don't have funds to do this everywhere, so how do we tie this into our existing infrastructure? And we just tried to really think through what that would look like. Maybe in the future this roundabout could get an upgrade. I'm not sure. The actual intersection itself, we explored the protected intersection option, knowing that we need a lot of turns to Boyd from each way, and that into the neighborhood not so much. So we can do a raised crossing here. On the other side of the intersection to the west, we realize we need to transition back to our existing infrastructure because we don't have the funds to do everything. And so this is showing this grade separated cycle track ramping down into the bike lane on the street. And you can kind of see that in section here. Sure.
In terms of thinking about hooking our populace and letting them really feel the benefit of any of these changes that have been funded or that are queued up for funding, when we do mix and match our existing infrastructure, which kind of sucks with this glorious, amazing tree-separated bike lanes, how do we give people enough of a taste of the good life, and then before we have to integrate with existing infrastructure, like is there enough like swappage to really make it so you're like, oh, this is amazing, let's do more of this, and then, oh yeah, we really need to change this. Like, is there enough of that from both a car and a biker rider standpoint to really kind of get some of that momentum going?
In my opinion, if we could have one of these in Bend, it would be something we could talk about, we could experience it, and we could. There are people that are resistant to these ideas, but if they can experience them, the conversation goes a lot farther. When you just see drawings on a page or talking about research, it's not as good as experiencing it. So I don't know the answer to your question, but I'll take one block of this any day. We also got to explore the roundabout option, which was quite fun. We would definitely be exceeding property lines, but not in, maybe some parking is lost, a couple parking spaces, but businesses are not interrupted. So difficult, but very possible. This is Butler Market, Boyd, and the neighborhood to the Greenway. And Sjors mentioned it, but the circular cycle track allows this, what's going on here? If a car is taking a right and the bike is going straight, they're at a 90 degree, so they can make eye contact and they can negotiate who is going to go. We actually did a few roundabouts, and there's one up on the left here. I tried to cut out some slides, but definitely look at that one. It's really cool. But I do really, really appreciate all of you coming. It means so much to me. And I do want to thank Bend Bikes for hosting this, and Sjors and Joost for traveling all this long way to share the good knowledge with us. So if we could give them a round of applause. Thank you.